Sanders, and I want everyone, if they would, go around the room. I think Patty is the only person that's on Zoom, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so Patty is the only one on the room. We're gonna start to my left. Introduce yourself, please.
Gina Driscoll, St. Petersburg City Council.
Tom Reed, City of South Pasadena and other cities.
Deborah Fick Sanders, City of St. Petersburg.
Hello, I'm Brad Miller, I'm the CEO of PSTA.
Good morning, Darden Rice, Chief of Planning and Community Affairs.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment for today?
No, I don't have anything.
Do we have to take a motion to allow Patty Reed to participate?
Oh, you're right, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'll entertain a,
Yeah, Patty Reed, City of Pinellas Park, City Council.
thank you. Thank you for that reminder, Brad. I'll entertain a motion to accept Commissioner Reed to participate in this meeting via Zoom.
So moved.
I don't know if we do seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Welcome, Commissioner Reed.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. We
Good
have,
morning.
we have no public comments, so now we're gonna go to our action items. I will entertain a motion to approve the April 2nd minutes.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Thank you for that. Next, we have the passenger ferry vessel grant presentation by Brad Miller and Darden Rice.
So. On.
Mine's a few ain't.
Should I divide it?
It's very, like. I can't remember how to do it. Alright, try it now.
Oh,
There we go.
did I do that?
I don't know. Because you have to tap the other screen and it'll start working. It's not working now?
Use the gray one. Use the gray one. Oh, this one. Just open. Just click on the box. You have to have a program.
All kinds of difficulties today.
Yeah.
The left or right.
Well,
In there.
There we go.
Technology is awesome.
We got it, we got it. Okay.
Technology's my nemesis.
For the first meeting, they had no video for us.
Oh, God.
Okay, good morning to the executive committee. So I had intended on covering my bases and put this on the agenda for the legislative committee, but we went over and then on the executive committee, so good thing that I did that. I put this on as an action item, and that is because I got a call last week from Hart that Hart asked the PSTA board to take essentially a ceremonial vote to accept the ferry boat grant, the Hart ferry boat grant, if the Hart board votes ultimately to transfer it to us, that we would accept it. They wanted that assurance that the PSTA would accept the grant if they're gonna go ahead and vote. That wasn't the plan all along. The plan was that they were going to vote to agree to transfer the grant, and then we would receive it, and then the PSTA board would take an action to use the grant. But they felt better about this, and I thought that was fine, and they ultimately delayed their vote on this. So the action item that I have drafted for this committee to make a recommendation to the board at the end of this month will also go to the finance committee and have them have a discussion and approve this, recommend it to the board, is to accept a $4.8 million Federal Transit Administration grant that Hart received for ferry boats if Hart agrees to that transfer. And then use that grant to purchase up to 2 new or used ferry boats to lease to a private operator for the ferry service in Tampa Bay between St. Petersburg and Tampa. So that's the recommendation this morning that we would go through. So what I'm gonna quickly do is go through sort of an outline of how we got here, a history. The strategy behind this idea of purchasing boats to supplement the ferry service. And then I've had a lot of conversations with each of you and all the PSDA board members in my one-on-ones. And Darden presented to the board back in February also on this topic. I've also had a lot of conversations with the Hart board members, briefing them on this. And so at the end of my presentation, I've just listed the questions that I've received and the answers to sort of discussion questions that I've heard from different board members. So a very quick history of how we got to today. In 2021, Hillsborough County was interested in expanding the ferry and applied for and received a $4.8 million ferry vessel grant. Is just 4 boats. But in 2023, Hillsborough County voted to cancel the planned expansion to MacDill Air Force Base. That resulted in the $4.8 million grant, which was actually allocated to Hart, not being used. It's still sitting there. The Cross Bay Ferry had been contracted out to a private provider, and that contract was actually the RFP, and the contract was with Hillsborough County. Hillsborough County had a 5-year contract with this company called HMS Ferries out of Boston that was supposed to end this coming fall, September 30th of 2025. Coming up on a year ago, Tampa, Hillsborough County, and St. Petersburg, the funding partners for the Cross Bay Ferry, approached PSDA and asked PSDA that when that Hillsborough contract ended, PSDA would do the next 5 years. We would issue the RFP and contract with the ferry operator. That contract has now ended early. The Hillsborough County, or the ferry provider HMS, took the boat away and took it back to Boston. And they proposed a replacement boat that Hillsborough County did not accept as sufficient. And so Hillsborough County voted about 3 weeks ago to cancel the ferry contract. And it stopped running on last week. May 1st was its last day. The boat is now on its way back to Boston. The same day that the ferry, that they did that, I got a call from Hart saying that they were delaying their planned vote at the Hart board meeting to transfer this grant to us until the PSA board could take an action to accept the grant so that they could know that we would accept it. As you might recall, at our meeting last month, a couple weeks ago, our April meeting, Commissioner Scott, he asked at the end of the meeting if we could have a discussion about this. So I thought, yeah, that shouldn't be a problem, that we have a discussion this month and then we take the action at the end of the month. Then the Hart board next meeting is June 2nd. They would put this, it would be right after our meeting, basically, a week after. And they would vote to transfer it. There is a benefit to receiving this grant so we can buy vessels for this ferry operations in terms of saving money and lowering the municipal subsidies for this service. That's what PSDA is all about, trying to lower the cost of this operation to make it more efficient and make it better. When we issue the RFP this summer, if we receive this grant and if we can provide the vessels to the providers, I believe we will get more competition for the RFP. We'll get more providers that can provide crews and run the service, and they don't necessarily need to have any boats. If we don't receive this grant, then we will issue the RFP just like Hillsborough did 5 years ago and require vendors to provide vessels, and that will reduce the competition. There'll probably be major players from out of town that have these kind of boats available. It also is a way to significantly reduce the cost. And there's a lot of factors that of why the Clearwater Ferry operation is a lot lower cost than the Cross Bay Ferry, but one of the reasons is that the Clearwater Ferry is using boats purchased by the state DOT. The state legislature approved funding that is providing the boats for the Clearwater Ferry. The Cross Bay Ferry, the contractor owns that boat that was running it. So that $450 an hour is including paying for the vessel in the hourly cost. If we could take advantage of this federal grant and purchase the boats, that would reduce the cost, reduce the subsidies that the municipals have to do, and the ferry service could be improved. There's no match, there's no cash match needed for this ferry grant. We have already gotten approval for the state Florida DOT to match it with credits, which aren't actual cash, but they count as a match. So just the $4.8 million is all we will use to buy, hopefully, one or possibly two boats with that money. That leads into this overall strategy that I have been working with St. Petersburg, Hillsborough County, and Tampa on and for the last year. They asked us to issue the RFP. Our goal is to get a year-round operator that would have crews and everything here locally, and to lower the operating cost. We would be able to, we would acquire these vessels using the grant, and then we would immediately lease those for like $1 to our contractor to run. We would never really have any responsibility for the boats. The contractor would be responsible for the boats. The goal would be to increase ridership, lower subsidies. The other benefit that is, it's a key benefit to PSTA overseeing this contract rather than Hillsborough County, is that if PSTA oversees the contract, we can submit the ridership data and other data to the federal government along with our annual submission that we do every year. And that will generate increased ridership for the Tampa Bay region in the formulas that the federal government uses to allocate grant funds. And so more funds will come down from the federal government's formula programs, which are funded, as we talked about in the legislative committee, from that 80-20, to the Tampa Bay region and to PSTA for transit capital investment. It can be used for the ferry, but it can be used for buses or any purposes to improve transit. So that this strategy, Debbie put dolphins on this picture, and frankly, in all my one-on-ones and going over this with PSTA board members and no one has, I don't think anyone has had a concern, and they think this strategy is logical to get a lower cost by purchasing the vessels for the contractor. I don't think anyone has a problem with that, but they do have lots of other questions, and I've just kind of categorized the questions. Question number one, is there demand for this ferry? What is the ridership situation on this ferry? Some folks think the ridership has gone down. Well, this ferry has been operating for 8 years. Started going up, then we had a thing called the pandemic, and we reduced service, and so it went down for a couple of years, and then it kicked back up again once the pandemic was over. The last 2 years have been a little bit compromised because the dock in St. Petersburg went from right in the middle of the downtown area at the Vanoy Basin down to the port, which is a little bit too far to walk. We tried to get the looper to go there, but it's a little bit out of the way, and that did hurt ridership just a little bit. And then this year was going fine. It was gonna probably be the same or higher than last year, but then Hills Road just ended it, just canceled the contract. Question number 2, which I've heard a lot, is the fact that a lot of the riders that ride the ferry are going to events, going to lightning games, going to events or entertainment. They're not using it to go to work. They're going on, their highest ridership is on the weekends for this. Is that a problem? Some folks have sort of maybe negatively referred to it as transportainment, that it is fun to ride the ferry. They have concessions, food and drink is available on the ferry. My perspective, all ridership is good ridership on ferries. It is providing an alternative to get across the bay to events and to things. Ford Pinellas has done a study, has reported that only 16% of all the traffic that is on the roads that we see all the time is for work trips. The vast majority of traffic in our region, transportation in our region, is for other purposes. For school, for medical appointments, for entertainment, for events, tourists going to where they want to go. So I certainly think that this ridership, which the service has been going very well, the ridership has been high, the boats are sold out. Actually, since the pandemic, there are more riders going to St. Petersburg on the ferry than going to Tampa on it. My wife and I tried to ride it toward the very end, and it was sold out. I could get to Tampa, I couldn't get back on it, so we didn't ride it because it was sold out. The definition of success of this, does it provide a value to the Tampa Bay region? Is it provide a positive economic impact? I think the waterborne services, both Clearwater and this one, have shown that it is a positive for both St. Petersburg and Tampa. Question number 3, what if HART doesn't approve this? What happens? What happens to the money? PSD will still move forward with issuing the RFP, but we will require the contractor to provide the boats. We will not be able to use the grant. And the grant will lapse, go back to the federal government and be reallocated to another city for ferry boats. It will stay within the program, at least that is the way Congress set up the program. It will be repurposed. Now, some folks have said, well, Brad, you don't know, I mean, it's a new day in Washington DC, maybe it'll be dozed away, or maybe this will never happen. What if the federal government does not approve it? Well, that might happen, but I don't think there's any negative toward HART approving the transfer and asking, and it's the same thing. If the grant is not available, we will still issue the RFP. It'll just be a higher cost. It'll be kind of like the services now with a boat provided by the vendor instead of being a more stable service. Question number 5, and this has come up lately. Is there increased liability to PSDA if we acquire these boats? PSDA, again, will have a contracted operation. The contract operator takes on all liability for the boats. That's the way we write all of our contracts. And PSDA has a lot of experience with contract operations. We are the #1 most contracted system in Florida. We have the Clearwater Ferry, we have the Jolly Trolley, we've got Transdev, Uber, Lyft, the van pool. They all have these contracts, and knock on fake wood, those contracts, according to our risk manager and attorney, are rock solid. That when they have an accident or when they have a malfunction with one of their vehicles, it's their responsibility. We require them to have insurance, which they do, but PSDA is protected by that contract. at least it's my recommendation that PSDA's only investment in this is the staff time and the management responsibilities. We're going to issue an RFP and only run the service that the fairs and the municipal subsidies can support, not other PSDA funds invested in the operation. Question number 6, is there, Hillsborough County asked me this, some of the county commissioners over there. Is there increased liability just generally to the taxpayers by doing this? Well, again, transferring the grant, buying the boats will lower subsidies, tax subsidies for this ferry operation, possibly even maybe eliminate them. The funds that are used for the boat are already approved. They're already approved by the federal government. They're sitting dormant over there. And then the additional funds that we can generate through the formula, those are also from existing programs. Question number 7, what if people don't like the ferry? What if it's canceled someday? What if St. Petersburg and Tampa don't want to do it anymore? Or the boats fail in some way? That's okay. At that time, PSDA will sell the boats. We can sell the boats. The proceeds of that sale don't come to PSDA, they'll go back to the federal government, but PSDA will not incur any cost. The contractor is responsible for maintaining the boats during the life of the service. If we are able to operate this ferry, submit the data to the federal government, that will provide a steady stream of capital funds that can make the ferry more sustainable. It will provide for capital funds for repairs or major repairs or new boats down the road. Hillsborough County commissioners asked me, well, are you sure, Brad? I mean, this all sounds good, but are you sure that PSC will never subsidize this? No, I mean, I've worked here a long time, but I maybe will die someday, and who knows? But it's up to the PSDA board. It's up to a future PSDA board. Right now, I'm not recommending that PSDA put any money into this, any of our budget money into this service. We will just facilitate it and hopefully make it lower cost. My final question, I promise, that a lot of folks have asked, is this worth it? Is this, I've had some PSDA board members ask, is this really PSDA's mission to get involved with this? Well, let's look at the mission statement of PSDA. To safely connect people to places, I think that implies all people, all types of people. This ferry service is very popular. The Clearwater ferry service is incredibly popular, and it's positive. It's a positive experience. People, local people and people from out of town love it, love riding it. And I think it is a benefit to services that people like, that benefits public transportation image and PSDA's image to offer these kinds of services that people do enjoy using. Transferring the grant and purchasing the boats and implementing this, that is certainly makes PSDA and HART look better than the alternative of not doing that and giving the money back. That will not make HART or PSDA look better in the eyes of the feds about giving us grants in the future. If we're giving money back, they will not likely be open to giving us more money in the future. Again, the goal is to reduce costs, reduce operating costs, increase transit capital funds. That's a benefit to both HART and PSDA. These are sort of the arguments that I've talked to a number of folks about, and I can add other, if we have other questions that I haven't covered, I can add to my PowerPoint. But that is the sort of argument for taking this action at PSDA to accept the $4.8 million Federal Transit Administration Ferry Boat Program grant, if HART transfers it, and use that grant to buy possibly up to 2 used ferry boats to operate the service between St. Pete and Tampa. That concludes my presentation.
All right, any committee members have questions? Commissioner Driscoll.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation. do you see so it's a pretty impressive reduction in the cost. And, you know, having all of this time, having the cost what it is, you know, or what it's been until it ended. This just really opens things up for us to, I think, for us to look at more discount programs or a reduction in fares, a family pass, you know, things like that. Do you see those costs, the reduction in cost translating to lower fares for passengers? Is that where the savings will go? Or will it just help us to keep it flat?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that will be a discussion. And we'll probably come up with some recommendations, but a discussion with the funding partners. And the funding partners are St. Petersburg, Tampa, and Hillsborough County. But yes, I mean, certainly if we can lower the cost, we could lower the fare some. It's $10 per one-way ride now, or 12?
It's 24 round trip.
$12 per one-way, 24 round trip. Could we get that down? I mean, it's very popular even at $12. The boats are
Right.
selling out even now.
Yes.
Yeah. Um,
But I'm just thinking it certainly doesn't have to get more expensive.
correct, yeah.
And it could help us maybe to look at, I know I might be getting a little bit ahead of things here, but if it's not selling out during the week, is there,
We could have variable
different-
pricing or something
yeah.
like that, yeah.
okay, and then this has already passed the Hillsborough County Commission?
No.
No.
No, so the Hillsborough County Commission voted to cancel their contract and unanimously voted to work with PSTA to issue the next RFP. So that would maybe imply support, at least from the Hillsborough County Commission, to keep the service going. But then it's Hart's decision, the Hart Board's decision to transfer this grant that's in their name. The Debbie went to a Hart Finance Committee and they voted to recommend the transfer. But then,
Okay, so did Hart take that as approval? I mean, they're asking PSTA for approval, is it because we would be handling it?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think they just want the assurance that that PSTA would accept this grant if they were to transfer it. They want that first.
My other question, I just have one more. Have the mayors of St. Petersburg and Tampa written letters, spoken with anyone or done any other kind of active advocacy? Because it seems that the mayors of each city are on board.
I've spoken to Mayor Welch about this, and I know Mayor Castor is also supportive of this, and we asked we and the St. Pete Chamber and the Tampa Chamber have tried to engage the mayor's offices in both cities to write letters to encourage the transfer of this grant. The Tampa Bay Partnership has gotten engaged in, I don't know if I think you have everybody, all the PSA board, and I've been getting these emails from citizens. There's like an email thing going around, encouraging the ferry to go again.
And how about the Tampa's downtown partnership and the St. Petersburg downtown partnership?
The Tampa Bay Partnership,
Right, but that's,
regional has supported this. And I'm not sure about downtown partnership, but we could certainly reach out to Jason Mathis and Nicole and I'd be remiss if I didn't say that the St. Petersburg Chamber of Commerce has been a stellar leader and cheerleader in this and getting other chambers on board.
okay. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm concerned about the 4.8 million for 1 to 2 boats. That's like saying I got a budget for 50,000, I'm gonna get 1 or 2 cars. It just seems like such a huge discrepancy. And I just looked online, I can get a 150 passenger ferry boat out of Mexico for 450,000. So I'm kinda concerned about the discrepancy of 1 to 2 boats. That seems like just too large of a window. Has anybody done any research? I mean, clearly I did it in 10 seconds, I'm not saying it's accurate. I'm just saying, has anybody done any research on what the ferry boats are gonna cost? Cause it seems like we should have a much more drilled down number.
Well,
As to
we
what it
definitely
costs.
should. And yes, we've done a lot of research on that. I haven't seen that I'm not aware of that Mexican boat, but the grant was written in a very flexible way. The way the grant was written, and we have to stay very true to the original intent of the grant, which is we can only buy boats with it. They can be new boats or used boats. What I've been told, what we have found out is that the boat that had been used for the Cross Bay Ferry, this one, is sort of very unique. It is also very fast. It is a high speed ferry boat. There's not many of them that are in existence, and to buy that new, we would only be able to get one for the $4.8 million. If we wanted to just buy a new high speed ferry boat, that will take up to 4.8. But there are a lot of used boats out there, so I think the way in which we sort of drafted the RFP is we sort of have a $4.8 million voucher, find us the very best possible boats. Having 2 boats rather than 1 would, I think, create a lot more flexibility on operating more hours and frequency. Some, during peak periods, it could run one starts in Tampa, one's in St. Pete, go back and forth. There would be a lot of advantages to getting 2 if possible.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
One more quick follow-up question, if I may. What assurances do we have from Hillsborough that they're gonna vote to transfer if we vote to accept their transfer, provided they vote to transfer? Did I get that right?
That's a great question. And when I got the call last week, I asked that, and I heard that they said that they would vote for it. When I had my one-on-ones with the county commissioners over there, briefings, they said if PSA voted for it, they verbally. Darden, when I told her, she said, well, did you get that in writing? And no, I did not. No, I mean, they have said that they will support this. Their finance committee voted to support this. I think generally they have told me that they will support this if PSDA accepts it.
But no written assurances.
No, it'd be nice to get that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Driscoll. Gina?
My question was answered.
Oh,
Thank you.
I just, going back to Commissioner Reed's question, this might be already obvious, but these types of vessels, the higher speed vessels are more expensive and also burn more fuel. But the reason why we're looking at that class of vessel has to do with the trip time between St. Pete and Tampa. So are there less expensive boats that hold fewer passengers? Yes, but I'm not sure that
No, I
a
wasn't
trip that
just,
takes over an hour is
well,
gonna
no, I
help our
wasn't suggesting that
ridership.
we should go with lesser boats. I'm just saying at this point, it seems like there should be some sort of idea of what a boat would cost that meets the needs of which we're trying to do.
Yeah.
A used boat that passes US Coast Guard requirements and inspections with at least a good 10 or 15 years on it, to me would be pretty ideal.
That's what I'm saying,
How
but
many
nobody's getting a solid
passengers?
price.
how many passengers on that one?
149.
hundred and fifty.
And it's selling out. It sells out on the weekends.
Yeah, cause I'm looking at some of the prices and they go as high as 11 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
Councilmember Driscoll, yes, it does sell out on a lot of the weekends, and what is interesting that we found in the waterborne transit study that the Chamber and Ford Pinellas helped pull together was that like 68% of the trips on weekends that account for the majority of the ridership aren't even on weekends where there's lightning games. So this, I know for St. Petersburg or Pinellas area folks to get to the lightning games is often used as an example for this, but it turns out that it sells out on weekends when there's no lightning games, like all the time.
So how many trips does it make? So if you have 150 times, let's say the round trip, $24, that's $3,600 per trip. How many trips do they make during the day? Do you know?
How many round
How
trips?
many round trips, yeah?
It goes about every hour and a half, so I think on weekends it's maybe 6 or 7 trips.
Okay, so I'll be optimistic and I'll say 7, so
And-
that's
and
25,000.
When my wife and I went down there, I could have gotten back to, like, I think their last run to St. Pete was like 11. There was availability on the 11 p.m. Tampa departure, but I was not into that because it was like the morning.
That's the business.
So that estimates about 25,000 a day if we went that route. My questions, were you finished?
Lisa, yes,
Okay. My question was, I agree about purchasing the boats on PSTA side. I have had an attorney tell me, I don't care how sound we think a contract is, they're gonna sue everybody. So if we purchase it, we will not be remiss from any type of litigation. My concern with us purchasing, well, it's not a concern. With having contracted out to operate it, what our maintenance overseeing would look like. How will that happen? Because when the contractor provide their boats, we are expected reports, hopefully monthly maintenance reports. And I'm hoping with us purchasing the boats and releasing all liability that we're requesting the same thing from the contractor.
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so the cost savings, I'm hoping, going back to Commissioner Driscoll's question, is if we're going from $450 an hour to $87 an hour, have we did a forecast of what those savings would look like for PSTA overall?
We have not done a, we could do an analysis of that. I'm not so sure it'll get down to 87. It is a different operation. The boats will be more expensive to maintain than the Clearwater Ferry. I mean, it'll be substantially less. I just can't guarantee it'll get all the way down to 87. We'll see. We want to get more competition. Maybe it'll be lower than 87. I don't know. Like I said, there is some discussions with the funding partners, Tampa, St. Pete, and Hillsborough, to see if we could have zero subsidy. Keep, and then just operate whatever service we can afford with zero subsidy. That's one goal. Another goal, Commissioner Driscoll pointed out, was maybe lowering the fare some to encourage ridership, or on the weekdays maybe. That's another idea, So I think we'll have a discussion, or maybe run more frequently. To see,
Can we, when we have the conversation with the board, because I know Commissioner Scott made the request, I'm hoping that we will be able to provide make and model that we're looking to purchase, costs that we're looking to purchase, a potential schedule and the income or revenue that we would garner from that. I think that would make us look better prepared in the transfer. I'm hopeful that they're going to say yes, but I would like for us to have more answers than that. And then when we think about the presentation to the county commissioners for Hillsborough, I think that would impress them as well, knowing that we did our homework, we have everything down. I'm kinda glad they kinda postponed it for us to give us the opportunity to have that, as well as how we sell it to our own PSC commissioners, cause I've been to meetings where we think it'll go this way and it completely went left, so
Correct,
I think the more prepared we are with those answers, that we're actually asking for that, for this point. I know when we were in Tallahassee and we talked about this, and you're right, it would, and that was part of the discussion, it would not look well for us to return the money back, and that's the statement that we have to make clear when we make that presentation, but I'm sure the Hillsborough commissioners are aware of that, I'm sure. But I think just on our end, I'm hoping we would have documentation of projections. Just like with delivery, we may find a boat and we purchased, fleet, it's 18 months wait time. How soon do we think we'll be able to get the boats once we purchase it? So questions like that, I think if we can have the answers to those, it'll make us look better prepared and even more excited and prepped to take on that $4.8 million.
agreed. Well, that's good advice. We will put together some scenarios. I think that's good.
Yeah.
A couple of months ago, Jared and I met with some local ferry providers, Hubbard's Marina folks from Madeira Beach. And they also maybe were looking at the same websites of boats for sale or whatever that is, .com. And they were looking at some others. They had some boats that they thought would be great for this service that they could get. And I was like, whoa, do not hit that buy it now, button please, we have a long way to go on this. And then I met with him again more recently and those boats were not available anymore. So, we'll just have to kind of see what might be available then for this service.
Sounds good. Anyone, other questions or comments, or, cause I do know that this is an action item for us, and seeing no further questions, I'll entertain a motion for, are we doing the,
This isn't, I don't think this.
yeah, it's an action item.
Yeah.
For us, and there were two parts. Did you want us to vote on those together or
Together.
separately?
It's sort
Okay.
of- yeah,
So there were two action items. The first is to accept the $4.8 million federal transit administration ferry boat program grant if HART approves the transfer. And to use the grant as intended to purchase up to 2 new or used. Did we wanna put a number in that, Brad? Cause we don't really know what we would be able to purchase.
It just and we would not buy more than 2.
Okay. If you get a good deal, you wouldn't buy more than 2?
I mean, well, if we really can get them
It's
for
a better deal
500
than
or
that,
what,
I'm worried.
There's no way.
I'm just being facetious, but anyway, that's the second part of the motion. New or used ferry vessels to lease to a private operator for the ferry service between St. Pete and Tampa Bay. So those are the two action items, and that is what's on the floor. I'll accept a motion from the executive committee member to approve the request.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Those
I didn't get a
opposed?
second. Did you second or?
I did not.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have a
It's a
second?
small board, I didn't know we needed a second.
Well, we didn't
It's a
second the
small board
first
meeting.
votes we had, so I didn't think we needed one for this.
It's a small board meeting. A second isn't required.
Is Commissioner Reed still
I
on?
usually do, so I'd like to keep.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Hey, we haven't, I am so sorry. We have not inquired to see if you had any input.
No, you're good. Good. I jump in there. You're fine.
Okay, thank you. So again, we didn't ask for seconds on the first vote, so that's why I didn't assume we needed one on this one.
I heard it, so.
So are we
Well, I made
required?
the motion.
'Cause again, I'm making the clarity, we didn't ask for seconds on the previous votes.
I thought I heard somebody, so I did put somebody down.
Oh, you did?
And
Okay. Is anyone gonna make a second?
maybe be louder
Are you
or
talking about
something.
like the motor boat? I don't know.
Who is, oh, that Patty needs to be on.
Does Patty wanna make a second?
Does Patty wanna make a second?
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you so much, appreciate it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Opposed?
Okay, there we go. We have one opposition. So motion carries with 3-1. Moving on from there, do we have any other business of our executive committee that anyone would like to?
If we have a quick moment, Trish, do you wanna kind of give the update on the scorecard?
Oh, I'm sorry, it's not on, I passed right by it, I'm sorry, information items of fiscal 25 quarter second scorecard. Hi, Miss Trish,
Good morning.
how are you?
Very well. How are you all? Great. As usual, you do have the scorecard in your packet, but I've also printed copies to share with everybody.
Thank you.
I know for something with this many rows and lines, I prefer to look at it on paper. So as you're all familiar, this is the quarterly report of our Performance Counts Balanced Scorecard. This is the scorecard that tracks what the board has approved as being the most important metrics for the agency for the year. And these stem from our strategic plan. So as we work this year through a series of workshops to develop a new strategic plan, that will be reflected in the scorecard that you see for next year. As this stands, I'd like to give a quick navigation. You'll see that the metrics are grouped according to the key principles in our current strategic plan. You can find that along the left-hand side. We have a series of metrics reflecting healthy community and workforce priorities, a section reflecting resiliency priorities, and then a section reflecting economic vitality priorities. And as you read across the row for each metric, you've got a unique code, the name of the metric, which summarizes what it is, then the performance goal, that's the result we're aiming to achieve. And then you see the number of points that it is worth. Then in the next column, the number of points that we earned in Q1 and the number of points that we earned in Q2. And then reading all the way to the right-hand side of the row, we've got the year-to-date, which is our total score for the year. All of that culminates into an overall score, that very bottom right-hand corner number, 95, is our current overall score as of the middle of the year, scoring 95 out of 100 points for our metrics. You'll also see the color coding on here, and the printer did make the green look rather yellow. So almost everything in here is green, and the brighter yellow on org 6, collisions per 100,000 miles, org 9 for fuel efficiency, and then you see a red in the Q2 column for fare and equivalent revenue. Those are the only goals during Q2 that were not quite met. And I'll talk about those first. The collisions per 100,000 miles is improving. We have a goal, as you see here, to have no more than 4 collisions total per 100,000 miles. And we were very close to that goal in Q1 and even closer in Q2. So you can see we're earning more of those 7 possible points. Now, I just want to call out, this has been due to a tremendous effort in our safety and security department, and to have an improved collisions, an improved number of collisions during the spring break period when there are more cars on the road and more traffic and more visitors who are unfamiliar to the area, that is a significant accomplishment for our safety and security and for our drivers who are out there on the road driving safely every day. Next, I'll speak to our fuel efficiency. We are so close to our goal of getting 5 or more miles per gallon. We are nearly there. And as we deploy more electric vehicles throughout the course of the remainder of this year, we believe that we will hit that goal of 5 miles per gallon. Doesn't sound like much compared to our cars, but it's far greater than diesel and hybrid buses. And then lastly, just to speak about the things that are highlighted, Org 15 at the very bottom, our fare and equivalent revenue. This is a goal that we set to increase the revenues that we get both from cash fares, Flamingo fares, and also things like our UPass and CPass programs, our TD grants. So all of the things that are fares or basically the same thing as fares. And we have a goal for ourselves that you'll see to increase by more than 7% over FY '24. We are getting there, we are working on it. Our revenues are up year to year compared to last year, but they are slightly below that ambitious goal that we made for ourselves. Some of that difference is in the estimates that we made in our budget, perhaps over budgeting on cash fares based on trends that we were seeing at the time. So we are continuing to pay close attention to that. And I will say that that is tied to and influenced by a metric that's a little bit higher up on the page, Org 11 ridership. We have set a goal to increase our ridership above last year, and we are successfully doing that. So I believe as we continue to focus on that through marketing and partnerships and CPass and UPass programs, and through other means, we will continue to see that our revenues are improving and increasing compared to last year as well. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions or have any discussion.
Any questions?
Thanks.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
so
everyone.
much. Thank you for the presentation. We appreciate that. So now we will go to our draft May board agenda. Brad Miller.
The draft agenda is in your packet, and as you recall, we had a record fast PSA board meeting in April.
Yes, we do.
That is not gonna be, we're not gonna break that record in May, I don't think. The finance committee has been, the planning committee has been merged into the finance committee for next week because of how many things are on the finance committee. And because we are gonna make a presentation about the budget and the ferry, essentially we're gonna try to make those at the beginning, so the planning committee can come and hear those, and then we'll go into then the planning committee members can leave, and then we'll just kind of go through the finance committee agenda after that. That's before it comes to the board, but if you see on your packet, there's a lot of contracts, RFPs. Al Burns is very busy right now with printing services, the tires. We are contracts with recruiters, headhunters that are just available to us is being renewed. Duke Power agreement for the Clearwater Transit Center. A contract, no cost contract amendment for our designer of the Clearwater Transit Center. The auditing services, thanks to the finance committee for selecting, now this will be just the approval of our new auditor, Clifton Larson Allen is the name of that company, and then marketing services by Amanda. We've got the ferry and then the operating capital program. So we've got a good robust agenda to go through at the committees next week and then the board at the end of the month.
Okay, so the other ones, they're on consent, so I'm sure anybody can pull them that day if they wish.
Yeah, and depending on the finance committee's recommendation, we can move some of those to
To
just a
consent?
regular action.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Anyone have any questions on the proposed draft?
Looks good.
Okay.
Commissioner Reed?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. Other business, any commissioners have any other business? Commissioner Driscoll, what did we say we were gonna talk about with the chief in last week's council meeting? I cannot remember what that was. You said, well, since Councilmember Figgs is PSCA chair and I'm on, he was making a presentation and I cannot remember because I didn't want to be remiss and forget.
the police chief?
Yeah, we were talking about transportation for students and Commissioner Driscoll said we need to have that conversation. I guess I need to go back and play the tape,
Yeah, cause I'm,
cause
I don't
I'm
remember.
drawing
It's
a
like at the
blank.
edge of my mind, but I can't remember what that topic was.
Yeah, you said we were gonna bring it and we'll talk about it. Okay, I'll try to remember what that was, but I was hoping you remember, cause I do
Yeah,
not.
sorry.
That's okay, okay. Any other business?
No, ma'am.
Well, seeing none, our next meeting will be June 4th at 10 a.m. And seeing none, our meeting is adjourned. See you then.
Alright.
You're welcome.
Brett, I think it had something to do with